Hey friends, it's Evelyn and welcome back to another YouTube video. I am so excited. It is actually Halloween today and I'm trying to post every Sunday now. So that's my new structure that I'm trying to bring to the channel. I'm gonna try to post a new video at least every Sunday. I don't know, we'll see how long I can keep up with that. But anyways, today I wanted to do another sit down type video where I talk through some of my product management experiences to just share out with you guys who might be interested. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience interviewing for the Facebook Rotational Product Manager program. I realize some people might not actually know what this program is. Essentially what it is, it's meant for new grads or just people new to the product manager role itself. And it's a rotational one, so you join 3 different teams across the 18 months of the program itself. Highly recommend. I'll leave a link in the description below if you're interested in checking out the website. So before I dive into this video, I just want to preface that this is just me talking about my experience interviewing for the RPM program, and in no way, shape, or form is this everyone's experience. I'm not even sure if this is even the structure of how many interviews they do and things like that, if that's even something they still use. Little backstory, I applied last year, so August of 2019, and during my application process, I remember looking online to see what the RPM interview process was like and things like that, and I stumbled upon a Medium article, which I'll link down below, talking about of a current RPM talking about their experience interviewing for the RPM program. I found that incredibly helpful, and I know it's been a whole year and we're kind of already deep into the RPM application process, or maybe it's even done by now and they're done recruiting, but I wanted to take some time and talk and share about my experience in case it might be helpful for any of you guys out there who, like me, were looking for people to talk about their experiences during the application process. So I've got my iPad here with all the details about my end-to-end experience, everything from applying to the on-site interview, all on this iPad detailed out, ready to tell you guys. And as always, I've got my gigantic jug of tea. This time it's Earl Grey to sip on. So if you see it, that's what this is. I'm gonna go ahead and split talking about my experience into 3 parts. First is the timeline itself. Second are the interview topics. And then third are just tips that I have specific, or tips and advice, just kind of reflecting on the whole interview experience that I feel like would be helpful for anyone going through the interview process right now. Okay, let's get started. Starting with timeline, I think I was a part of, there's a Facebook RPM group on Facebook that kind of sends updates and things like that as the application comes out, application deadline nears and things like that. So if you're not already a part of that page, definitely join it. I believe the day they posted it, I applied immediately because I knew that they moved pretty quickly. So I have here that I applied on August 1st, 2019. Not sure if that's the exact day the application went out, but that's the date I applied. And I think actually the exact same day or a couple days later, the recruiter reached out for me to fill out some info. So I think this might just be for anyone who applies. They just send over kind of a general email asking you about your H-1B and things like that, more logistics information that they need from you. So I replied on that one immediately, and then within that same week, I had a 30-minute call scheduled with the recruiter. Unfortunately, I don't have notes of exactly what we talked about, but I'm assuming it was just about my prior experience and then questions I had about the program. So 30-minute call with the recruiter, and a week later from applying, they actually had an info session. So I was in Seattle at the time, and they ended up having an info session in Seattle that was invite only about specifically the RPM program. For anyone applying, I would say apply as early as possible. Granted, I'm not sure if they ended up having more than one info session. It was really fun to go to that info session, visiting their Facebook Seattle office. I'm sure they have info sessions elsewhere too, but it was great talking to the current RPMs and having them walk through what the whole interview process would be like, but also meeting other applicants as well. So yeah, apply early. So I believe the same day of the info session, I actually found out from the recruiter that I was moved on to the first round of interviews. So the first round of interviews are 2 interviews actually, 45 minutes each, on product sense and on execution. I believe both of these were, they're video interviews. Yeah, video interviews. And I had these towards the end of August. So about 2 to 3 weeks after I initially applied, I had my first round, which was 2 interviews. So that's actually something unique to call out, that their first round is actually 2 interviews. They don't do the thing where they have 1 interview and then wait for results from that one to move you to the second. You get both regardless of how either one goes. So the Monday after the week I had those 2 interviews, I found out that I got the on-site at Menlo Park. So that was, let's see here, a week. So a week after the date of my first 2 interviews, I had the on-site. And by this point, I was actually back in the Bay Area, so didn't get to be flown out, but I know others who did. So their on-site was at Menlo Park, and it was basically a whole morning towards early afternoon-ish. So it was 3 interviews, 45 minutes each with, I believe it was with current PMs. So not our PMs, but current PMs. And they were each on product sense, well, one on product sense, another on leadership and drive, and the last on execution. And then we had lunch with the current RPM, which was so much fun. They're just so nice, great food too. It was a really fun day. So that is my timeline, let's see. So end to end, applied on August 1st, around then, I'm guessing. I don't remember exactly what date it opened. And the on-site was on August 30th. Yeah, and then I found out results, I think about a week or 2 later. I don't have that firm date. But yeah, that is what the timeline looks like. So very, very quick. In the matter of a month, I went from application to on-site. Crazy. What a wild time. Very fun. Okay, so now let's talk about these interview topics, because I remember when I first heard that the interviews were gonna be on execution and product sense, I was like, I'm sorry, what exactly does that mean and how do I prepare for it? I ended up just doing some Googling online to better understand what it meant for an interview to be about execution. Hey, editing Evelyn coming in here. I did a horrible job at trying to explain the difference here, so coming in to fix this mess. I'd say execution is understanding how you bring a product or feature to life, whereas product sense is what product or feature to bring to life. So execution is very much focused on identifying and solving these sub-problems, whereas product sense is very much bigger picture, vision, strategy type stuff. For example, execution questions, and these aren't the ones I got, would be ones like, how would you measure the success of newly rolled out feature X? While product sense questions, making these up as I go, would be like, how would you improve YouTube gaming? And then leadership and drive, I believe most of that was based around just my past experience. So really just looking through your resume and picking out times where you feel like you were able to be a leader and talk to those experiences. Yeah, hopefully that helps. I don't know if that was a great way that I just explained that, but execution, smaller chunks, product sense, big picture. Lastly, I want to talk about tips with this Facebook RPM process. Definitely applying early. So I know I touched upon this earlier, but applying early to make sure that you take full advantage of if they hold future info sessions and things like that. But also I think I don't know, but I think they hire on a rolling basis. So it's just in your best interest to apply earlier on. My second tip is to just take your time and have that time to process the question, ask questions and things like that. This really came up for me during the video interviews, because usually in person, you're able to have this whiteboard where, you know, as the interviewer is asking you a question, you might be able to start jotting things out. They can really see your thought process. But in a video interview, I felt like I didn't have that ability for them to see that I was thinking and drawing things out on like a notepad or something like that. So I would just take a moment, let the interviewer know, hey, sorry, give me a second. I'm gonna just jot down all my ideas and thoughts and collect myself, and then I'll continue my discussion with you. So found that really helpful to do, is just taking that time, especially for video interviews. Last tip is making sure that I have some experience with drawing out my ideas. So in my on-sites, all my interview rooms had a whiteboard, and I mean, I don't know if they needed me to use the whiteboard, but I found it extremely helpful for me to draw out and walk the interviewer through my thought process on a whiteboard, because I remember we'd both be like pointing at things and it just was helpful to have a whiteboard there. But when I was interview prepping, obviously I didn't have a whiteboard and have usually someone else to talk to. So just something that would be helpful to practice on your own is what it would be like to draw out your thoughts inside your head. So yeah, that was my experience as a whole. Honestly, it was such a fun experience. I just thoroughly enjoyed all the people that I met along the way, all the other applicants. I loved the recruiters. They were just the nicest, most helpful people. Yeah, that's my video talking about my experience. I hope this was helpful to any of you guys out there. If you're curious as to what books and things like that I used in order to help me prep for these interviews, go check out my interview tips part 2 video, because I talk about the books and frameworks and things like that that I actually used going into these interviews, which was so much fun. And yeah, that's all. Thank you guys so much for watching. And actually right now I'm gonna film another video about my Uber APM experience. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, stay tuned, because I'll be posting that shortly. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.